good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Today, we are going to talk about a few different things. We're going to do a follow-up on a show I did about 2 weeks ago. We are going to talk about maybe setting some expectations for the Moon Knight series and some pretty breaking news. So let's hit all those things and we'll jump right into it. The big thing coming out of Hollywoodish today is report that the CW has renewed 7 of their scripted series. That's The Flash, Kung Fu, All-American, Nancy Drew, Superman and Lois, Walker, and Riverdale. Of course, 3 of those being comic-related, 2 being the Arrowverse shows. So Superman and Lois has been kind of detached-ish from Arrowverse. It doesn't hang on to its connection to it as well as The Flash does. Also, The Flash, being renewed for its 9th season, makes it the longest-running Arrowverse show, passing the Arrow, which had been on for 8 seasons. So maybe it's time to start calling it the Flashverse? No. Still the Arrowverse. It's always going to be the Arrowverse. But this is kind of an interesting thing in that there's a lot of up in the air right now. The CW is up for sale. That's what, there's Nexstar is supposed to be circling them, stuff like that, trying to decide if they're going to pick them up. So the renewals kind of, even though it could, they're saying, yes, we're bringing these shows back. A new ownership deal might negate that. You've got to wonder if Warner Brothers sells off the CW, how long they want to keep characters like The Flash and Superman on the CW, or if they're going to want to move them over to HBO Max. So, will Stargirl be back? Will Legends of Tomorrow be back? There's a lot of things up in the air, but the fact that they've, All-American and Kung Fu, Nancy Drew, those make sense. Walker is their big new hit, but you get stuff like The Flash and even Riverdale, they're licensed properties, so it really depends on deals with the new owner of the studio, stuff like that. So it's really going to be interesting. Plus, there's the new series Naomi. There's the upcoming spinoff series Tom Swift. I mean, there's a lot of things coming up that we're really not sure how they're gonna come around. So, but the news that CW has always been a network that does early renewals, and it works really well for series because then if you're coming back, you can do a cliffhanger, you can set up your next season, you can already start negotiating contracts with people that need to have renewals. There's a lot of stuff you can do with an early renewal. So from that point of view, it's awesome, but there's still, a lot up in the air because we don't know who's going to end up owning them if the sale does happen, and where it goes, and what Warner Brothers is going to want to do for their shows like Batwoman and like I said, Legends of Tomorrow and stuff like that, where we don't know what the future is going to hold. So that's the big breaking news. Like I said, CW renews. That's it. We should buy it. I can throw in about $20. I can match that. Yeah, I can match that. Maybe you can go 25, so I can be a majority shareholder. The only problem is if I owned the CW, I'd want to write all the Arrowverse shows. Flash would be different. Batwoman would be different. I haven't watched Superman and Lois, so. Yep. AZW, we can afford $45 to buy you. Call it Dan and I. Yep, I've got a thing of a change here. I can throw that into. So we're getting up there if we need to. We can come up with it, Um, heck, maybe we can get the experience moved on to the CW. Okay. What I wanted to talk about.
If I'm investing my $20, I'm not putting the experience on the CW. I love my job and I love what we do here, but I ain't turning down that Flash money.
Yeah, true. That is true. So, okay. If I were to take over the Flash as a showrunner, I would do a heavy Rogue War series. I'd bring back Wentworth Miller and try to get Dominic Purcell back and just focus on the rogues and just have Flash kind of in the background for a season. I think it'd be really fun. All right, moving on to, like I said, last week, maybe it was the week before, I did an episode specifically on adapting Agatha Christie. Now, I realized that I spent an entire episode talking about adapting books that were written almost 100 years ago, 90 years ago. But it's really popular right now with the success of Kenneth Branagh. And, there was the David Suchet show for 20 some odd years. He played Poirot. And there have been some really great adaptations of Agatha Christie, Poirot specifically. There was Albert Finney who played him in Murder on the Orient Express back in the 70s. Peter Ustinov played the character in Death on the Nile and Evil Under the Sun. Again, David Suchet, Kenneth Branagh. There have been some great performances. And then there's performances that make you scratch your head. From what I've seen, and I'm not able to watch the whole movie, but there's a clip on YouTube from a 1964 version of the ABC Murders, where Poirot is played by Tony Randall. And it is one of the oddest clips I've ever seen, because you watch it and it's almost like Tony Randall is trying to be Peter Sellers. Like they decided to do a Pink Panther parody, but to put it out and not get any grief for it, they had him play Poirot. It's odd. It's really, really odd. But again, I've only seen the clip where he meets Hastings, and I think the entire time he's in one of the old-fashioned sweat boxes. So all you see is the top of his head sticking out. And they've got him going bald. And I know Tony Randall wasn't bald at the time. Actually, it's before I was born, from what I understand. Around that time, maybe a little later, he was dating my grandmother. So, yeah, that's not a joke. Supposedly, I'm told my grandmother dated Tony Randall for a while, which is really kind of weird. I could see Jack Klugman being a much better fit into my family than Tony Randall. Anyway, so why am I bringing back up Poirot? It's not because of Tony Randall. I am bringing up Poirot because I have been on... I've had some medical things going on, which involves me having to keep my feet up as much as possible, keep my legs raised. And so I'm only, sitting in the office chair and stuff, maybe an hour or two at a time. Otherwise, I'm laying on the bed or I'm in a recliner. And crocheting a lot, which is something I picked up recently. I'm almost done with 2 blankets, and I've only been crocheting for a little over a month. Anyway, but one of the things I've been doing is watching old episodes of Poirot with David Suchet. And I am up through season 10 now. I had originally gone through all the major books like The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, The Murder at Styles, The ABC Murders, Evil Under the Sun, their versions of all those books. And as I was looking up something, because it's neat to watch the show, because people keep popping up that you go, oh my God, that's Aidan Gillen from Littlefinger from Game of Thrones, episode of Poirot. Last night was Michael Fassbender, very young Michael Fassbender. 3 different Doctor Who's have popped up. Very young Peter Capaldi, very young Christopher Eccleston, and then a little bit older, but not too old, Paul McGann. So 3 doctors. And I will tell you that none of them turned out to be the killer, which is nice. I wonder if that's like an iPhone thing. You can have a doctor, but you can't make him the evil bastard. I don't know if there's any more. I'm keeping watching. I'll probably watch all the Poirot episodes except for Curtain, because that is the death of or the end of Poirot, and I don't really want to see his end. I enjoy the character too much. I don't need to see where he ends. But while I was doing a little digging and looking into it, looking at the characters and stuff, I was reminded that after Murder on the Orient Express came out, Amazon Prime decided to do their own Poirot movie series. It was they took the ABC Murders, which it's probably not the most. It's probably, like, if you did a top 10, it's probably number 7 or 8 on the actual Poirot books. It's one of the only books where you actually have a serial killer. So Poirot goes up against a lot of things, but an actual serial killer, that's rare. So that's why this one's particularly weird. But it's a book that involves a lot of the normal characters. We haven't met these characters in the Kenneth Branagh ones because they're the travel books, and he didn't often take the normal sidekicks with him to the travel books. So Kenneth Branagh has not met the 2 characters the characters he usually works with. Those are, Miss Lemon, his secretary, Colonel Hastings, and Chief Inspector Japp. Now, I don't know if Miss Lemons is in the book or not. She might be a TV creation, but it's been a long time. I don't remember if Miss Lemons is in the book or not, but she's in all the series. Well, the ABC Murders is supposed to be Japp, Hastings working with Poirot to catch a guy who is sending letters to Poirot, basically saying where he's going to kill next. And he calls himself ABC, and he kills like Ann Asher in a city with an A, and then Betty Bertrand or whatever in a B city, and he's going through the different letters. Well, Prime decided to do that, but instead of and this is where it gets, as good as the Kenneth Branagh adaptations are, and the changes they make a lot of sense. Like bringing Book into Death on the Nile so that Poirot isn't just there out of convenience, to bring a little emotional connection for Poirot. That made sense to me. The way they made the characters a little more interconnected made sense to me. I think they helped the overall story. What Amazon Prime did almost felt like somebody explained what the murder was and forgot to explain who Poirot was. The first thing they did was they cast John Malkovich as Hercule Poirot. And the problem with that is Well, first off, Malkovich doesn't do accents. Occasionally, he'll throw out a French word. N'est-ce pas? Mon ami? Yeah. Other than that, he's just John Malkovich. They also moved the story to the end of his career, which is not where this story takes place. There is a point where, like Reichenbach Falls, I think Agatha Christie was done with Poirot, had him retire, did a couple mysteries with him, retired, then brought him back out of retirement. This is not one of those. This is him in the city of London doing his thing. But they make it that he's retired and somebody is sending these letters to him. They make personal connections between Poirot and all the victims, which isn't necessary. It doesn't add a degree of drama or anything to it. It's more of a throwaway thing. They add a level of sexual deviance to the killer or to the suspect, which wasn't necessary, wasn't part of the original books. They make it that Poirot has been discredited, that at some point somebody looked into Poirot's past, discovered that he had not been a Belgian police officer, as he had claimed, and that it cost Japp his commission because he had vouched for Poirot, and basically got him thrown off the force and replaced by a younger lieutenant. And when Poirot goes to the police with this letter, they don't believe him. They ignore him. And then Poirot goes and finds that Japp has retired. And when he goes out there, he spends a few minutes talking to Japp, who then has a heart attack and dies. So we don't get we don't get Chief Inspector Japp. There is no mention of Colonel Hastings in the entire story. So they've changed Poirot's background. They do tell us why he changed. Well, what happened? What he was instead of being a cop? But it has no bearing at all on the story. They don't even answer it until after the mystery is solved. They do it in kind of a quick flashback at the end. Now, if they were thinking this was going to be an ongoing series, maybe they're setting that up for something. But it makes no sense what they did. Then I'm glancing over the biggest problem with the series. And I'm going to get to it in a second because there's other things. They add some characters where the suspect is living. There's a landlady who he has interactions with, but it's pretty minor. They cast the woman who played Moaning Myrtle in Harry Potter to be the landlady, and she's got that really annoying voice. She's a great actress, but she's got that voice, so you know it's her every time. She was also in the ABBA episode of Doctor Who. Not the ABBA, the ELO episode of Doctor Who. So there's that. And they make her a very mean person. She has a daughter who doesn't look like her at all, that she basically pimps out to her guests. The daughter is played by the actress who plays Yennefer on The Witcher. The suspect is also from The Witcher. He's the guy that was chasing Ciri and ended up teaming up with Yennefer in the second season. So you've got these connections. But let's not forget that Moaning Myrtle from Harry Potter, because there's another Harry Potter actor in this as well. They have decided that instead of having Chief Inspector Japp, who works with Poirot and there's no animosity, they work well together, they replace him with a younger police lieutenant named Crome, who's played by Rupert Grint. Yes, Ron Weasley. And he has this big, like, porn-like mustache that doesn't look real on him. He still looks young. Too young to be a police inspector. And I know he's not, but I don't think he's old enough to be a lieutenant, or he doesn't look old enough to be a lieutenant. And it just looks like he's running around in his dad's suit, trying to be, pretending to be a cop. He's constantly fighting with Poirot. And it's like, that's not what this character is. That's more like Lestrade with Sherlock Holmes, where they're fighting and trying, Lestrade thinks he's the detective. And Japp is more of, he helps both Japp and Hastings. There's not any animosity between the characters. So for them to replace him with that adds an element to this story that, again, doesn't seem to need to be there. They had an extra murder with a really weird take on it. They change up that part of it too, which doesn't make a lot of sense. But the biggest problem I have with this series is, and Kyle, if you're listening, you can chime in on this. What is the number one thing that tells you that it's Hercule Poirot? What is the thing that is his signature? David Suchet, the artwork shows it. Kenneth Branagh went and made it magnificent. His mustache. His mustache is supposed to be enormous. It's supposed to be, Agatha Christie always referred to it as mustaches. Like there was two, which is what Kenneth Branagh kind of did. And David Suchet had that little one, but it was all very, very unique looking. And the mustache is supposed to be what people recognize. It's how people really make him stand out. And besides not doing the Belgian accent almost at all, Malkovich just has simple goatee setup. There's nothing special about his mustache. There's one point where he tries to dye it, and it does like a Rudy Giuliani and runs. The dye runs on him because they really don't have hair dye back then, I guess. So they make him vain about it, but then we just end up with this gray-white, simple, very well trimmed mustache and goatee. It's not even as long as my goatee. It's just very well trimmed. So you could watch this movie or this series. It's a 3-part series. It's 3 hours, and it's set up in 3 episodes. But you have a Poirot who isn't Belgian. He's now very old. He seems more absent-minded. And he doesn't have a mustache. And you can watch it and maybe enjoy it if you don't think of it as Poirot. if you just assume it's just a detective. But there are so many odd changes that they make. And again, none of them seem to improve on the story. Now, I was familiar with the ABC murders going into it. I had actually already watched the David Suchet version recently. Yeah, I do not understand what they did. And it did feel like they were trying to set this up for a multiple season series. But it got a horrible response. It did not do well at all. I posted about it on Facebook. And normally when I post on Facebook, regardless of whether I'm posting for or a positive or a negative response to criticism, there are always people that come along and take the opposite opinion. Oh, I love the new Batman movie. Really, I thought it was way too long. Oh, that's not my Batman, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I really didn't like whatever. Oh, really? I thought it was great. Did you maybe, Cowboy Bebop? I liked Cowboy Bebop. Oh no, it's totally wrong. It's not like the series. I mean, there's always people that take the opposite side, and that makes sense because we all have unique opinions and unique views. I posted my thoughts on this particular episode or this particular series, and no one has defended it. The closest someone defended it, the closest to a defense was somebody said they enjoyed the mystery, but had to pretend it wasn't a Poirot series, which is something I just talked about. No one else liked it. No one else thought it was good. Again, the only other close series was somebody posted the link to the Tony Randall version saying that, yes, this is bad, but this might be worse. And I don't get how you could take a character and strip away the things that make them that character. Now, I get that you change things for, you look at the MCU. You look at Iron Man. They changed a lot of things about Iron Man. They really didn't dive deep into his alcoholism, but they did kind of a metaphor for it with using the arc reactor and the metal in the arc reactor, or the element that was killing him. And they did have him drinking some, but they have him marry Gwyneth Paltrow's character, Pepper Potts. He doesn't get married to Pepper Potts in the comics. They have different things they did, but at the heart of Iron Man, they know what made him tick. The ladies' man, the genius inventor, those kind of things, willing to sacrifice himself if need be. They grew the character in that, yes, it's not the exact same story, but you get the feeling for who Iron Man is, who Iron Man was in all those years in the comics. And sometimes you have to build to that character. You look at Man of Steel. The Superman we get in that is not the Superman we know. But the thing is that he's becoming that character through the story arc. The Ben Affleck Daredevil. A lot of people complain, oh, that's not our that's not Daredevil. He was a vigilante in the beginning and a hero by the end of it. It's the story arc. This just tossed away a lot of the things that make Poirot. Things that are crucial to the series. Just toss them away. Like it didn't matter. Like there weren't fans of this character, this 90-some-odd-year-old character. It was a very odd decision. So as well as Michael Green and Kenneth Branagh do at adapting Death on the Nile and Murder on the Orient Express, what a wonderful job David Suchet and the crew from ITV have done for all those years doing Poirot on TV. The Malkovich version was a frickin' train wreck. it was nothing like Hercule Poirot. So that's the other half. I talked about a great adaptation before. This is the horrible one. So, all right, folks, we are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to talk about setting expectations for Moon Knight. So stick around and we'll be right back.
This is The Experience.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hey there. Hi there. Ho there. You're as welcome as can be.
Hi, I'm Nancy McCann. Welcome to Friday Night Live on The Experience.
Welcome, everybody. It's Fat Jack's Comic Crypt. Brendan, Al, Jason, hanging out.
There I am. Welcome back to Kicking It with Henry, folks. I am your host, Henry Compa. It's great to be here with you guys.
So we are going to talk about books that are in stores this week.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mishmash.
Hello, and welcome to the Black Comics Universe, presented by Peep Game Comics.
And you gotta love it that the first people in the minute to skim it are creators.
Up, everybody! Welcome to another Wednesday Warriors. My name is Joey Galvez, and this is my pal Ambrosia.
Hey, everybody! Welcome to Space Cadet.
Hey!
What's up?
Welcome, everyone, for another episode of I Must Ask You a Question.
Hi, everybody, welcome to Nerd News Now.
Hey, this is Rex. Welcome to Comic Collectibles.
Hey, hello, all you happy people. Welcome to the Dan Wickline Show.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is the crazy show that we do on Thursdays called What's in the Box?
What's in the box?
Comic culture and sales.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Now, we just finished talking about the John Malkovich version of Hercule Poirot, or his lack of version. Coming up right after the show here, stick around for Black Comic Universe, followed by A Minute to Skim It with Miss Jen. And then I will be back with my buddy Kyle as we talk about new comics in the stores this week. And we've got some really great books coming up. We're going to talk about the new Ironclads from Valiant. And it's been a while since Valiant has actually launched a new title. They constantly are starting new number ones, but an actual brand new series, a brand new set of characters, this is new. We've also got Firefly. We've got Count Crawley from Dark Horse, which is written by David Dasmalchian. We'll talk about We Have Demons from Scott Snyder. More about Joy Operation, Red Sonja, Barbarella, and, of course, Godzilla versus the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So we'll be covering all those books around 5 o'clock Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, so stick around for that. We are going to get into talking about Moon Knight. Now, I have been really excited about the Moon Knight series. Everything I've seen of it has looked fantastic. The action, just Oscar Isaac looks great in what he's doing. The intensity. I pick on his accent, but I know why he's doing the accent is to easily differentiate Stephen Grant from Mark Spector or any other of the personalities he comes up with. It makes a lot of sense. It's a strong acting choice. His accent is a bit chimchimmery. It's a little chimney sweep from Dick Van Dyke chimney sweep from Mary Poppins. But I'm sure we're going to get into it, and it's not going to faze us. So, but there's been a couple new trailers, not trailers, clips, scenes. And they're giving us more information, but every time we get more information, it almost changes my expectations on the show. There was the recent trailer that showed Stephen Grant talking to his reflection, and the reflection was talking back as Mark Spector. There's some great lines in it. A part where Stephen Grant says, "This is the best, worst day of my life," which I love that line. There's also where Mark Spector's trying to, well, it sounds like Mark Spector. He's trying to explain what it is they do and how they help people. But there's two new clips, and we're actually going to play the clips and talk about them. So let's roll the first clip. I don't know which one we're going to get. So Kyle's going to roll one of them, and let's see. Okay, this one's called Contacts. Let's see, here we're getting a real horror vibe.
Thank you.
So do you think the Tom shoe turned into the old lady?
Oh, yeah.
That would be a mean trick.
Right.
Fine, thank you.
Just lost my contact lens.
Hope you find it.
Electrical problems in the building, isn't it?
Always the same, isn't it?
Are we back on the 5th floor?
Yes, the fifth. My friend Claire lives here. I'm visiting her. She's expecting me.
That woman seems nervous. He seems like perfectly kind, nice bloke. Why? I wonder why they signed the elevators. Did you notice that? They're signing the elevators. The mirror, there was signatures on them and postcards. That seemed kind of strange to me. Not sure what that is. If that's an English tradition you guys know, let me know in the comments and stuff. But, so that's the first trailer. And again, that gives a horror vibe. We know that F. Murray Abraham, great actor, played Solier in Amadeus, has been in so many amazing things. He's going to voice Khonshu, but we don't hear him here. And it could be because they just announced his voicing it, so it could be that they're adding him now. Maybe they had someone else and they're switching it. You know, hey, we can get F. Murray Abrams. Let's do that. Abraham, let's do that. So that gives a real horror vibe. But another clip came out. Let's watch that.
Summon the suit.
Now that's Layla.
The suit. The suit. Then keep this safe.
So be it.
Let's go, let's go.
And we know that Ethan Hawke is playing Arthur Hastings, I think it is, or no, I'm confusing Poirot and that. But. Now, keep in mind the color of the magic that he's doing there. Because in the Marvel Universe, purple is chaos magic, like Agatha Harkness, or evil magic, like Agatha Harkness. Red is chaos magic. Purple is evil magic, or like the Darkhold. All right, so that hand coming out, there's a good chance that that is going to be the werewolf-looking character or creature that Moon Knight fights in the bathroom. I don't think that's actually a werewolf. I think that's more of a jackal type creature, because I think he's summoning. That character seems to be very related to the Egyptian mythology, and he's got the head of His cane is one god. He's got a tattoo of another god on there. There's been a lot of rumors that maybe his character, and this is Ethan Hawke we're talking about, that his character is tied into the sun god, which is a character from the comics. That makes a lot of sense because right now Ethan Hawke is listed as Arthur Harrow. And Arthur Harrow is a character that popped up in one episode or one issue of Moon Knight as a one and done villain who was continuing the Nazi studying of pain. He never came back. He's no connection to Egyptian gods, no connection to any form of magic. So I think they're using the name Arthur Harrow because it was available. And if they are doing the Sun King, not Sun God, if they're doing the Sun King character, he never has a name in the comic. He's listed as either a patient number or as the Sun King. So I could see that working and him kind of creating this cult around him being an avatar for one of the other gods, while Moon Knight is the avatar for Khonshu. The other character we see in there, besides the people chasing them, is actress May Calamawy. It's a tough name. It's Calamawy. And she's listed as Layla El Fowley. Now, she's not a character from the comics that we know of. Normally, Mark Spector is helped by two people. It's Frenchie and Marlene. Frenchie, of course, is a member of the French Foreign Legion. He's a helicopter pilot. He worked with Mark Spector. He's a soldier. He's kind of his Alfred, but more of the modern day Alfred. Frenchie was a soldier long before Alfred became a soldier. And Marlene is the daughter of an Egyptian expert or archaeologist. She's, part of Mark's origin story where he was ordered to kill Marlene and her dad. He refused and ended up getting killed by his the head of the operation, a guy named Bushman, and lied dying at the foot of a Khonshu statue. Khonshu then, of course, brought him back as his avatar. And Marlene goes on to become his girlfriend, and she's around all that time. Now, as I'm putting some of this together, and this is speculation, you get the idea from some of the clips and some of the trailers that Mark is hiding as Stephen Grant. But in more than just pretending to be him, he hides himself in the Stephen Grant persona. He loses himself in it. And it might be to get away from Arthur Harrow and that, or from Bushman. So it's possible that Layla might not be her full name. She might be hiding too, and it could be Marlene, or she could be a completely new character. But it seems weird that they would bring in the other character, bring in him and not his normal supporting characters. And I get not having Frenchie, but not having Marlene seems a little strange. They do Daredevil, they bring in Foggy, they bring in Karen Page, they bring in Ben Urich. Down the line. You do Luke Cage, you bring in all the villains, you bring in Misty Knight eventually, you do Iron Fist, you bring in Colleen Wing. there's supporting characters that go with these characters for a very long time. And Marlene and Frenchie. So it just seems strange that we're not getting them. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little twist. But there's another character too. Now, in all of the clips that we're seeing, I noticed that we're not seeing Gaspard Ulliel, who's playing Anton Mogart or the Midnight Man. None of the clips have had him. Also, none of the clips have we seen another of Mark's personalities, Jake Lockley. We only see a little bit of Mr. Knight. So I think we're getting mostly from one part of the episode of the series. So it's kind of hard to judge what we're going to get. We get that horror feeling when he doesn't know what's going on, when Khonshu is coming to him. Those could be dreams. Those could be his personas trying to break through. There's a lot of things that could be, but I almost get a feeling like that's going to be episode 1, and then we're going to step away from that, and maybe everything we've seen so far is the first 2 episodes. There's a ton more out there. And I know Marvel has shown some critics, not me, but some critics have seen the first 4 episodes. And the fact that they're willing to show 4 episodes tells me 2 things. 1, they're confident in the series. And 2, some really big stuff happens in the last 2 episodes. And episode 5 is usually the twist. When you watch these series, they're the ones, that's where Kingpin shows up. That's where we learn of the other Lokis. That's the big twist episode. So I would expect them to keep that pattern. We're going to get some big twist in episode 5, and then the big, the big cleanup or climax in episode 6. Also, there have been some rumors that an MCU character, perhaps an Avenger, is going to show up at the end of the series, similar to Blade showing up at the end of the Eternals. Spoiler if you didn't know. It wouldn't surprise me if it was Blade, because that's kind of that part of the MCU. Blade and Moon Knight and Black Knight, and it's possible Werewolf by Night may pop up, because they're going to do the Werewolf by Night Halloween special. Maybe we get Jack Russell, maybe we get the newer version. I think not Lin-Manuel Miranda. I don't remember the actor's name. And the gentleman from Mozart in the Jungle, who's playing the werewolf, I think he's playing the newer version. So we'll see how that works out. Jack Russell is an odd name for a werewolf, being the Jack Russell Terrier. And maybe it wasn't as popular in the 1970s. But nowadays, we all know what a Jack Russell Terrier is. So when you name a werewolf Jack Russell, it's just kind of hilarious. But it would make sense for Werewolf by Night to show up in this series, because Moon Knight debuted in Werewolf by Night number 32 and then 33, and that's where he got his start. He was created by a corporation to take on the werewolf, to capture the werewolf. And then once he finds out that they're evil and Jack's not a bad guy, he turns on them. And they even give him his costume and stuff. So it's a very different origin than what we get nowadays with the whole death at the foot of Khonshu statue and becoming back as the avatar of the Egyptian god. None of that was in the original character. But then again, when he was created, he felt like basically a Batman clone. But when they actually sat down and started making an origin and coming up with these other personas and stuff, he very much became more of a shadow figure than a Batman. So all the people out there who keep saying, oh, Moon Knight's Marvel's Batman, check out the origin of the Shadow, the actual, the fact that he comes back from a faraway land, takes on the guise of a rich man and all this other stuff. He's a mercenary. Mark Spector is Ken Allard. And if you don't know who Ken Allard is, you really don't know the Shadow. So, yeah. Mark Spector is basically the Shadow. And Moon Knight it's going to be a fun character, and I'm looking forward to see what they're doing. But like I said, I keep getting different vibes. That first clip really felt like a horror story. That second clip felt more like The Mummy, which I guess is technically a horror. The Brendan Fraser one. Yeah, someone referred to this as kind of Indiana Jones meets Fight Club. And I think it's a little more of The Mummy. It's a little more of the Brendan Fraser Mummy. Because it's going to have a little more humor to it, I think. And it's got a little more... it just feels that way with the mystical aspects and stuff. You had some of that in Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Indiana Jones stuff, but not on this level. To actually see him casting, and again, he's casting purple magic. And purple magic is what Agatha Harkness uses, and you see how it blackens her fingers. So keep an eye on Arthur and Harrow and see if his hands start to blacken, stuff like that. If there's some kind of tie to the type of magic that Agatha uses. Because Marvel is very specific about their color codings when it came to the Infinity Stones and when it comes to magic. Doctor Strange tends to use kind of an orange magic. Sometimes green time is green. Chaos magic is red. But the purple magic, and it's also when the Ancient One is tapping into Dormammu's dimension. She's using purple magic. So you can see that there's, something like that. Different other dimensional magic. Not sure how they want to refer to it. But it looks like he's tapping into powers from wherever the gods are. Maybe the gods are in another dimension. There's a lot to put together. We are a little over a week away, 8 days away from the series starting. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think this is going to be one of Marvel's better series. The critics who have seen it are speaking really highly of it, saying this may be Marvel's best TV series. They're liking it to early Iron Man because of it creating the character and focusing on the character and not the world around it. So this starts next week, and we will definitely be covering it on the Thursday slot. So stick around for that. That's going to wrap it up for us. Tomorrow, I am going to go over the final 5 episodes of season 2 of Pennyworth, which just gets weirder and weirder. I finally finished it, and oh my God, it's a great show and strange. And then on Thursday, we have a guest. We are going to have Pat Shand on for an interview, and we're going to talk to Pat. And I've known Pat for a long time from our days at Zenoscope. So we will talk to Pat on Thursday. Stick around right after this. Black Comic Universe with Amani Latif. Then Minute to Skim It with Miss Jen. And then I will be back with Kyle to talk about books in stores this week, including Armorclads #1, Firefly #2. We have Demons 1, Count Crawley #1, Joy Operation. About 10 different books that we're excited to talk to you about. So stick around to the experience for all of that coming up next. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.